Hey everyone, welcome to the Wednesday live stream.
Wow.
Yo, it's Wednesday.
It is Wednesday, my dude.
What's the date, Ian?
That's right. We should play the beginning music so I can say it is Wednesday, October 16th, 2024 of our Lord Carl Sagan. Today on the show, hopefully we will talk about something that you can see the topics, but you can't see the topics. Well, you can kind of see them on TikTok. I don't know why you can't. Anyway, we're going to talk about what do robots pray to?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Continents. Are you guys familiar with continents?
I do. There are a
I'm
few
vaguely
of them.
familiar.
How many there are? Acupuncture, which I think I spelled correctly.
Yep.
Nauticon tickets are still available, which you can go get. Skepticsguide.org. Go there. And more TikToks. And we'll do that fun stuff. And that's about it. Let me see why I don't
Going to be
see it
ticking
over
and
here.
talking.
Always. That's what we do.
Because that's where the kids are these days. That's why I
what
understand.
the kids are doing. Let's see. Does that pop up? No, it doesn't. Well, whatever. Anyway.
Oh man, I don't know why. I think I read the comments to TikTok videos. I guess it's the ones that I'm being sent because I'm looking at all the crap. You know?
Yeah. That's
What
true.
have you found?
All the
God, I
pseudoscience,
sift-
and there's the comments just make you weep for humanity. I mean, as you know, it's a cliche, but it's like they are an indictment of the American educational system.
Mm-hmm.
Although it's worldwide, it's not just America.
That's true.
But I do think there's a massive, I have to believe that there's a massive self-selection process going on there. That if you're commenting on a video spouting utter nonsense on TikTok, that's probably because you consume that content and are amenable to it. And then there's the occasional skeptic is like, are you people for real? Yeah.
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 You know?
Every once in a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Usually,
you can't rate humanity on what you see
No.
on social media.
No. I hope not.
You can't. Oh, no.
What is this?
What is this?
This is the live
this?
stream. This is a live stream that we do as extra content for the Skeptic's Guide to the Universe podcast, which is a weekly science and critical thinking podcast that's been going on for
20
over
years.
1,000 episodes.
Whoa.
We will be celebrating our 20th year anniversary in May of 2025. So, yes, we're in our 20th year. We'll have completed 20 years in about, what is that, 5-6 months? Yeah, but we completed over 1,000 episodes.
Okay.
So welcome if you're just catching us for some reason
For the first time ever.
on our live stream. This is not the show. This is
No.
is just Jay and I chatting
On TikTok.
Mhm.
and having some fun. But we do talk about some science and skepticism here, but this is not the formal show. That comes out every Saturday by noon. It gets posted. Just look up The Skeptic's Guide to the Universe. And while we're shamelessly self-promoting our content, we have published 2 books. Jay, grab the other one. Our first book, the eponymously named The Skeptic's Guide to the Universe book, and our follow-up, The Skeptic's Guide to the Future. Excellent reads, I understand. This is like a primer on critical thinking and scientific literacy and media savvy and all that fun stuff. And this one is all about the future, if it wasn't obvious. It's how we know what's going to happen in the future. It's how we predict the future of technology, what the future of technology is likely to have in store. Is AI going to take over? Is nanotechnology going to save us or destroy the Earth? Yeah. How are we going to be getting around and changing ourselves and doing stuff? It's going to be. I learned a lot writing the book, right? And it was a lot of fun to write. It's just
that book was
fascinating,
a blast.
Yeah.
From the beginning. My big takeaway from everything we learned, I can summarize it in one sentence.
You mean everything over the last 20 years?
No, in writing that book, and writing The Skeptic's Guide to the Future, is that people are horrible at predicting the
future of technology.
Like, I didn't realize how bad it was until we researched the book, and then I'm like, wow, like really bad.
Yeah.
And
'Cause
every
it's
once
hard.
in a while, someone will predict something, and then it turns into like, whoa, check out how accurate this one prediction is, you know?
But it's one prediction among many failures. Yeah, though there were some, and again, broad brushstrokes. You know, people can make some accurate predictions, but also some really far off ones. And that's sort of one of the questions that we address. How were people so bad at predicting future technology in the past? And are we that bad today?
Yes.
You know, and
Yes.
it's reasonable to assume that we are. And part of what it comes down to, I mean, we go over all the reasons. Now, we have 10, I think, futurism fallacies that we discuss in detail in the book. But a lot of it comes down to the hardest thing to predict is how people will interact with technology.
Mm-hmm.
It's not necessarily the technology. So like, it's easy to say, yeah, computers will be faster and more powerful in the future. But predicting computers is hard, or
Yes.
predicting that cell phones are going to stop getting smaller and are going to start getting bigger again because we need the real estate, because we're going to start using our cell phones like handheld computers. Like that kind of prediction and all of the impacts that has on how we interact with technology, that's the things that past futurists have mostly missed. It is fascinating.
Other examples would be like the Segway, right? Like,
Well, that's like the classic.
like people thought it was going to change the way we human transportation.
Well, typically a lot of technological advances are made because we can, right? It's like, why did they make the Segway? Was that like a gaping hole in our ability to get around cities? Was that a problem that needed to be solved? Or was it just that the technology was ripe for that particular application, and then it was like a solution in search of a problem that they never found?
Right.
But it was also, the other reason why the Segway, since you bring it up, the Segway failed was because of infrastructure. And that's another thing, is that you think of the technology in and of itself, and you don't realize that technology often exists in the context of the societal infrastructure. And sometimes one technology wins out over another one, or a technology fails because of the availability or lack of availability of infrastructure. And the Segway, the inventor of the Segway, basically said, this failed to catch fire and to transform the way we get around cities, because it required cities to dramatically change their infrastructure, and they didn't do it. Because again, why would they? Was this a pressing enough problem that needed a solution?
No.
Or why are cities going to reconfigure themselves to accommodate a technology that wasn't really solving anything? It was just kind of neat, So it didn't find a niche. You know what I mean?
And then you have Google Glass as another example.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't a bad idea. It was an early attempt at, like an augmented reality.
I don't think it just wasn't there yet. That's something I don't think we know the answer to. If you think about what are the predictions we're making now that may or may not come true? The one that I honestly don't know the answer to is how much and how are we going to be using virtual technology and augmented technology in the future? Because it's one of those things where it could change everything, or it could be the Segway. You know, it could be a microwave or it could be Betamax. And it's hard to know because, again, it's like, I've used VR, I've used AR, they're awesome. I still use them, but am I standing or sitting in my office using a VR office rather than just using a computer screen? No. Why? Because it's kind of tiring to have that thing sitting on my face for any prolonged period of time.
Well, I mean, it's a complicated issue because they absolutely are making better headsets.
Yeah.
They're lighter. They're
But where's the
untethered.
tipping point?
Yeah.
And are we ever going to get to that tipping point?
Well, they have,
And by the time we get to that tipping point, is it going to be basically eclipsed by some other technology that we don't even know about?
Well,
yet?
let's talk about it because Meta has come out with a pair of glasses that are like, they don't look horrible.
Yeah.
And they're light, and they're augmented reality glasses. And it just depends on how powerful it is. Because I'll tell you right now, like, I love playing VR games.
Yeah.
They're fun.
They're a lot of fun.
I would love to find apps that I could use in VR that would be like work apps and stuff. And I haven't found any good ones. I haven't found anything, nothing's transformative. Like, I will tell you this as an example. If I had a pair of VR glasses that could, that augmented reality glasses that can give me pop-ups on things and all that, and if my personal assistant was built into it, I would freaking use the shit out of that.
Yeah.
Imagine this. You're wearing your glasses and you're like, hey, the next time I see Ian, pop up a note so I can remember to tell him this. Or send Ian an email for me. Or remind me, show me my to-do list. Take this calendar. I'll change my calendar.
That's the killer app phenomenon.
Yes.
Right? Does the technology have a killer app that people are going to buy the technology because they must have that app, and then that becomes the gateway to all the other applications that are facilitated by that technology, right? So, like with the smartphone, having the ability to interact with the internet in your pocket at all times was the overall killer app, and then everything else rode that wave, and it just changed the way we use technology. You know what I mean? But it is like one of my funniest things I'll never forget is the colleague of mine who predicted in the 90s that the internet, right, the World Wide Web was going to go the way of CB radio, that it was a fad that people would get tired of and wouldn't really change anything.
I did not feel that way at all.
I didn't feel that way at all, and we had a discussion about it, but wow, you can't get more wrong than that. The internet is a fad, and it's going to go away.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. It's just like, because it's to him, like, what was the killer app? How does it change how I go about my day? He just didn't see it. But once there is that, like, what is the thing that's going to make everybody want a VR or an AR hardware? Playing video games. Video games are pretty fun on the screen.
Yeah. They're fine. I
like the VR games, but I won't play a game just because it's VR.
No,
it's got to be a
not.
good game. I will play good VR games, and I'll play good,
but it's got to play nice with the VR concept and
Yeah.
environment. No, but the idea, this personal assistant thing, which I talk about all the time, that is going to transform.
You think?
And I'm predicting this.
Yeah, I predicted it too. I wrote an article about it last week.
That it's going to be used by a ton of people. Like it's going to be pervasive.
Once it gets over that tipping point.
Yeah, I mean, look, you're basically talking to I don't want to say intelligent, but when we say large language model, an AI that can understand what you're saying, that can translate what you're saying, contextually, which is important. Take commands, interact with your Google accounts, right? That's a big one for me. You might, most people have Gmail as their personal email. I want to be able to tell it to do things for me and remind me of things. It's good. That will transform my work life in a major way, and I think it'll be hugely adopted. I mean, I can't imagine people not falling all over that. Imagine that, though, because a personal assistant costs a lot of money. If you want to hire a human being to do that,
a digital personal assistant is what you're talking about.
A digital personal assistant.
Yeah.
So the point is, a digital personal assistant, though, can do things that a human personal assistant could never do.
Yeah.
Because they'd have to be in the room with you all the time.
Well, plus, AIs is better at certain things. Like you could say, oh yeah, go through my 100,000 photos and pull out the photos that have these 3 qualities to them. Yes. I know a lot of the things that we will say is like the things that an AI assistant can do. are things that you could probably find an app somewhere that can do it. But just like your cell phone, like when the smartphone came out, it's like you had a way of contacting the internet, of interacting with the internet, of sending email, of sending messages, of calling people, of having a personal data assistant. All of those things existed. It's not that it had a new functionality that didn't exist. We already had GPS applications, you know.
Yep.
The Garmin. Remember having a Garmin in your car?
Yeah, they work great.
But this put it all together.
Yeah.
And it put it all together in a way that made them all more efficient and easy to use, and also played off each other, and then opened the door to a lot of other apps.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
So we have our mobile phones, right?
Yeah.
Why do we call them phones?
Well, that's because that's a legacy, term. That's why do we call the remote a clicker?
I mean, I think it's more accurate to call it your mobile device or something
Yeah.
like that, because when you think about
But too late.
statistically,
It's stuck.
Your
There are-
PDA.
there are
Remember
people
PDA?
that should call their cell phones their TikTok.
Yeah.
And there are people that should call their cell phones their Facebook, because I realize like my time talking on the phone is a
Yeah.
fraction of my internet time.
You mentioned the Facebook. So I read an article not too long ago. It was about the fact, I think it's in South Korea. The Facebook was very clever in like getting essentially Facebook incorporated into every cell phone, into the OS.
I remember that.
Yeah, right. And so people in South Korea thought that Facebook was the internet.
Yeah.
Like to them, it was the same thing.
That was the internet. I know. It's
That's
crazy.
the internet, and they got to everything else through Facebook. It's the same kind of concept.
Yeah,
It's
I
like
agree.
It's one thing that represents that thing to you. Like we think of it as the phone, but it really is. That's why we say smartphone. But whatever. That is the just the history of technology gets incorporated into how we talk about it and how we think about it.
Yep.
Like why do we say we're going to tape something when we're going to record it?
Yeah, I know. And that's probably
Because it used to be on literal tape one day in the past, but we still, it's just
Or I call the TV remote the clicker still.
I know,
Yeah.
as I said, the clicker, because it
I
used
do
to
that
literally
too.
make a
It's weird.
clicking noise.
Yeah.
Click, click.
I need AI to help me. I have ADHD.
Yeah.
And I've become acutely aware of the pain points in my life of what it affects, and it does have a very strong effect. As a person with ADHD, I bounce from thing to thing. I can be like, I'm going to work on this, and then instead of finishing that, I'll be like, oh, I'm going to go do this, because you know what I mean. Like if you have, and in today's world, we are inundated with communication. Like I just straight up can't keep up with my phone calls, my texts, my Facebook, my YouTube, all the comments, all the SGU emails, all of my personal email. I can't keep up with all of it. It's impossible for me to do it. And I literally, and people bust my stones about it all the time.
Yeah.
Hey, I texted you, didn't write back. I'm like, you damn right I didn't text you back. You and 30 other texts that are waiting for me. Like, how does the average person manage this stuff? Like, do you get the same amount of stuff that I do?
I get more.
How do you manage it?
I ignore a lot of it.
Well, there you go. So I'm not the a-hole here. Like, I'm just deciding to not do it.
You have to have a
Mostly text from
threshold. No, but I don't. There are certain people I do not ignore texts from. You have to prioritize, and anything that's spam, I just try to get rid of.
But an AI would be so good at saying, hey, Jay, in the last hour, here's your hit list. These are the things I think you should respond to.
And you could just tell it to do things like just automatically email people or whatever. If anyone texts me in the next 2 hours, automatically text them back that I'm busy and I'll hit you up later in the day.
Yeah.
Unless it's an emergency or whatever.
It's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
It's going to be. How about this? This is a big
in
one
its
for me.
ideal. So when I wrote about it this last week on my blog, and I said, let's talk about what it could be in its idealized form.
Okay.
Because that's the thing that you don't know. Like, is it going to really exist in that
Well, I
idealized
want the
form?
idealized. Whatever you think it is, that's what I want.
I know. But in the idealized form, just imagine having somebody that day to day is like constantly on your shoulder, managing all of your digital content.
Yes.
Managing all of your tasks that you need to do, and that could also do things like not just manage your day, like the literal personal assistant task, but also like, oh, I need to book tickets to this thing. Do that for me, and it could do it.
And like, hey, it tells you got an email from your friend Brian. It wants to know about Saturday, and all you got to do is say, yeah, email him back and tell him I'll be there, and then
and it's done. You've completed the task.
But it'll fill it in a little bit more to make it like it came from you. Here's a big one. I get excited when I talk about this.
Yeah.
I want to be able to, at some point, I'm going to tell an artificial intelligence a few tasks, and here's one of them. Go through all of my emails, all of them, and help me figure out how to delete as many as I can.
Mm-hmm.
And it'll be like, okay, here's all these legacy YouTube, responses that you got from all your videos. We can delete all those right now. Then it'll get into like people. This person, you have 50 emails from this one person. Do you want to save all of them? And I will be able to rationalize that because I have 176,000 unopened emails, I think, right now,
Mm-hmm.
Which is a lot. The other thing I want to do, delete every duplicate file on my Google Drive.
Mm-hmm.
And you could do that. It's not actually hard for a computer to do that, but it's hard.
And there are apps. Again, there are apps. That
Yeah,
do
but
that.
they suck. I've tried
Yeah.
all of them. They're terrible.
Yeah.
They're sucky. Yeah, and and the other thing I want it to like basically manage like
Your life.
like how about this? Like I don't want to get paper mail anymore. I don't want paper mail at
Yeah.
all. I want it all digital. And then I want it
Oh,
to
it could manage your pay your bills. Your
Yes, I wanted to
finances for you.
prioritize everything like that, so I don't
Yeah.
have to sit there and go through shit and think about it, and
Do your taxes for you.
When we get to the point where AIs are talking to each other, like you could tell your AI, call my insurance company and find out why they didn't pay for this doctor's visit I had last April. Could you imagine if it could do that?
Yeah.
And how much time was it? And as you get older, you'll appreciate what I just said because
Well, you mentioned that. Speaking of which, but
what?
we have a huge aging population.
Asian?
Aging. And the incidence and prevalence of dementia is increasing.
It's increasing.
There are more
Steve.
people living with dementia.
There's more people living with dementia. Yes.
Yeah.
There's more people living with dementia?
And
Yes.
it is a massive cost, healthcare cost,
God
societal
damn the cost. Yeah.
Steve's going to hate you.
I know.
Let me shut off the screen so you can.
Having technology that allows people to maintain their independence longer is huge. So,
For
one thing so I'm a neurologist. In case you don't know, I treat people with dementia. I manage people that and there's this massive gray zone, and most people will go through this if you have parents who are older, where they're not fully functional. They're not where they were when they were at their sharpest, but they're not like put them in the nursing home demented, right? They're somewhere in between, and there's this infinite gradations of functionality.
They're just slowly tipping down.
And where's the tip? Yeah, where's the point at which you need to start increasing their support? And that includes also things like independent things like driving, right?
Yep.
Technology allows people to remain independent longer. So already, like there's a phase of dementia where people can drive, but they have a hard time getting lost.
Yes.
And if they have GPS, it gives them the ability to drive longer.
And the car will drive them at some point.
And they can always say, "Take me home." You know what I mean? No matter where they are. So that can buy them another year or whatever of independence. I think this kind of AI digital assistant can also be the kind of thing
Remind them of everything.
it could keep people independent for longer and safer, and
How about this? I mean, imagine if it's recording everything that happens in your life, and you say, "What did I say to Steve when we talked about blah blah blah?"
Yeah.
Could you imagine being able to? You get into a fight with your wife. Okay. All right. All right.
let's not go there.
No.
Who's the asshole? Who was wrong in that conversation?
They'll build it in.
Somebody asked me. Yeah,
you're
I know.
wrong.
Somebody asked me, "Jay, do you use ChatGPT?" Yeah, I
Of
use
course.
that. I use
I use it every
ChatGPT more than any other, including email, any other single piece of software. That is the number one piece of software that I use. I use it all the time. I use it for work a lot. It helps me. Collate all of the different articles that I bring together to report. Do a news item for SGU. I mean, creatively, my God, Steve, you know all about this. We do. Steve and I do very similar things with ChatGPT. We use it for like tabletop gaming. I started using it this way too, Steve. I had my computer there. I'm running a Call of Cthulhu game, and I don't have the rules memorized. The rule system is fine, but there's little particulars that I can't remember. I can do most everything because you learn it.
Right.
And you just ask it, how do I manage, the dodge aspect in a combat situation.
Yeah. Oh, I've thought a lot about the impact of the latest AI technology on tabletop gaming.
Yeah.
You and I are using it to support our traditional sort of method
Generate
of,
images.
To generate,
Oh God.
Give me 40 dwarf names. You know what I mean? Because you
Yeah,
have to name
absolutely.
every
Why would you
single.
waste your time
I
thinking
know. I
about
hate
that?
wasting time coming up with crappy names, and you know what I mean. Just for the background NPCs, like
Yeah.
main NPCs are worth the time to like make sure that whatever their name is good, but. It's like you encounter some. It's like they're going to interact with this person for 10 minutes and never interact with them again.
Yes.
But you make the world feel real if they have a name and like the illusion of like they're a full person. And so you end up spending a lot of time creating that illusion. And but it's really fluff content. It's just really important
But
for
it's
the
there
vibe.
in the moment. It's important.
Yes, but automating that with AI, like just give me, all this background crap. I've used it to generate a lot of diversional content. So
Yes.
in other words, like the party finds a book
Yeah.
and it's a 20-page book of poetry about, I don't know, whatever it needs to be about in the context of the
Yeah.
game of nature. It's like an elven book of nature poetry, whatever. I could actually have the AI write the 20-page
I
fucking book of
know,
elven
I know, it's
poetry
crazy.
so that I can embed the one piece of little information that they need
Yes,
deep into that
it's
book.
ridiculous.
But I would never, ever do that on my own.
No, of course not. No, and just the image. So I've created thousands of images
Yes.
using Midjourney
Yeah.
for this particular campaign. And Midjourney, like you try to get ChatGPT to make something gross and it won't do it.
Yeah.
Like they have restrictions.
Midjourney's better for artistic
Midjourney
stuff.
will do whatever the freak you tell it to do. So and then the ability to just show them this is what every character you encounter
Yes.
looks like. This is what this building
And it
looks
looks like a real person.
Yeah, it's freaking amazing. It just adds
They
so
have
much color to it.
personality and detail.
And I've said this before, but I've been using it for a long time now to help me write a screenplay that I've been writing.
Yeah.
And it's a pet project of mine. I do it because I love having creative outlets. And Steve, I'm telling you, it is so unbelievably remarkable because ChatGPT has been loaded. I like to say it's read. It has, it's not a person. It doesn't read, but it has digested whatever. Basically anything that's been in print. It's got everything. My basic thing I ask it to do is I'm asking it to give me research about angels, about characters in the Bible, cross-matching information from the books that are in the Bible to like books that, could have been in the Bible. There's hundreds of them.
Yeah.
It's got them all like this.
On
So
tap,
you could ask it really esoteric questions like, give me every reference in every religion where they have an angel-like figure and tell me the abilities of those angels.
Yeah.
You know how long it would take for me to research that?
And you get it in 5 minutes.
You get it instantly.
Yeah.
And the point is, I would stop doing the project if I had to research shit like that.
Yeah.
So, this is where I think, having machines do a lot of grunt work for us. My God, it's like going into a factory and all it does is cut the piece of cheese as it's put through the extruder. Like that's the way I kind of look at it. Now I know it's going to be a lot more than that
Yeah.
someday, but just the grunt, having it do this low level grunt work for me.
How
is
long
remarkable.
until we get to the point where an AI is basically the GM,
Yeah.
right? Like it can do everything,
Yeah.
everything.
Yes.
We'll see. Somebody wants us to come to Germany and have
Yeah,
a skeptical
that was
event
pretty
there.
cool,
We
yeah.
will absolutely go to Germany and have a skeptical event there.
It's got the European Space
but
Agency.
you got to help us organize
Particles.
it. We need a place to go. We
Another one which was interesting is Trondheim, which is in Norway, right? And see the Northern Lights. That's usually a good thing. If we
can you guarantee that we
Right.
will see Northern Lights?
That's the other thing.
though?
Yes.
But coordinating the SGU with some sort of phenomenon of the
Yes.
sky seems
Phenomenon.
to be Phenomenon.
So if we go to Germany,
Germany.
will I have beers and
Darmstadt.
sausages?
Yeah.
Is that what we eat there?
Or bratwurst.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
It's
personally
not the
love German
worst.
food. I love German food. I love sauerbraten. I love
You like German or Austrian better?
Ooh.
Austrian is fantastic as well, but they're both wonderful.
Yeah. I think I have to give the nod to Austria.
Yeah.
though.
Yeah, okay.
I think
Since
they use
Steve-
bacon as an herb in
Sharon
Austria.
says, since Steve is doing 12 hours of skeptical training in Dubai, when will you be recording all that?
I don't know.
content with all this?
I'm on someone
That's a
else's
good
dime. I don't
question.
know. I mean, if I'm going to ask them if I can get a recording of it, but I don't know. I don't know.
Let me
I'm not
answer
supposed
a
to learn.
question that's just floating all here. All these people want us to come places. So go and figure. It's complicated, and I'll tell you how. One is
Prague is cool.
because I'm not there in any of these countries, me trying to plan like a conference or a skeptical gathering or a live show in those, it's really hard, if not impossible, for me to do it.
So honestly, the best way to do it seriously
Yeah.
is to you organize a meeting because you're there. Organize a skeptical meeting.
Yeah.
And especially if there's already a skeptical group there, and most countries in Europe do have skeptical groups.
It doesn't have to be massive. It can be a hotel room.
Yeah, but
Not a
But
hotel-
I mean,
well, not a hotel- hotel
organize
conference room.
organize a conference and invite us. That's
Yeah.
how you do it.
That-
Yeah.
but that's the
But
problem.
we're
though,
not going to
because-
be doing the legwork in Germany because we're not there and we don't speak German.
Yeah.
It's not an easy thing.
And
for us
also,
to do.
you have to pay for us to be flown out there and
Well,
pay for a
that
hotel.
goes without saying.
Yeah, that's
It's expensive.
because if we start flying everywhere people want us to, we will be out of business in 3 weeks. It doesn't work. I mean, look, Olivia,
That's we free energy.
put your
flight.
money where your mouth is. You sent the chocolate.
Wait, Jay, where is the
I
chocolate?
forgot it again.
Oh my god.
This is why I need an artificially intelligent creature to tell me, Jay,
Bring
bring
your
the
chocolate.
chocolate. Hey, Jay, I noticed you're walking past your
should've.
office.
Yeah.
Grab the chocolate that Olivia sent you guys
sorry,
and bring it to
Olivia.
the goddamn studio.
He almost
I would have
lost
mine
it,
swear.
too.
Oh, guess what? I have ChatGPT talk to me in different accents now.
yeah,
Oh
we
my
talked
I
about
love
God.
it. I love it.
All right.
It's awesome.
That's fine. All right. Speaking of AI,
Call me
right, that's one
Mr.
of the-
Cultural Misappropriation.
No,
What? Misappropriation.
Wait, I want to finish yelling at
Mr.
Olivia.
Appropriation.
Olivia, bring
What's up,
us
Mike?
to Switzerland. Find a couple of hundred people in Switzerland that want to see the SGU, and we can make it happen. I'll make
If
it
you
happen
want,
with you.
if you want a list of skeptical groups, somebody asked for that. Get the Skeptical Inquirer magazine. They keep an updated list in
Yeah.
the back, not only in the country but in the world of skeptical groups. So that's just a good one. Or just go to their website.
Good thing.
All right. What,
All right,
what
so-
else do we have on tap?
You know when you try to lose weight and you gain weight? You ever have that happen?
Yeah,
What?
once or twice.
Right?
Yeah.
That sucks.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ian, how did you lose
Good
weight?
segue. Stop eating.
Eat less and
Although-
exercise
Stop
more.
Yeah. Although I have a update to that, I did pass out in the gym bathroom a week ago.
What the hell happened?
Well,
What
this
happened?
was I've passed out before because I didn't properly hydrate and I was overheated. I went into the sauna. I overheated. Went into the bathroom.
Saunas are. Yeah. Why would you do a sauna?
I know I was stupid.
That's
Okay,
just
I'm
a-
sorry.
Saunas don't do anything.
They just
I
make you
know.
pass out.
They
What
literally,
the
and
hell?
I felt it coming on because I've had it before, like the white thing, like
You
it
see
affects your
stars
vision.
and you start
Yeah,
to
and I was like, I better brace myself, and then I'm on the floor and people are helping me up. And
Did
then
they shut down the gym and play music for 36 minutes?
They should have. They should have. But anyway,
Ian, I don't know.
911 came and I'm fine.
911
Anyway,
came.
Let me try to help you out
oh,
here a
God.
little bit. Let me help you out, okay?
I should have drank water. I'm dumb.
You gotta freaking hydrate
I know.
a
I
couple
know.
of
This is why-
hours before you start to go in
I
to do these
know.
things.
Hot yoga drives me crazy.
I hate hot,
Yes.
hot yoga.
What's the idea of hot yoga? It's like we're going to
dumb.
exercise, but it's going to be dangerous. We're going to make
Right.
you overheated and dehydrated, and it's going to be good.
Yeah.
It's literally from a dude who's like, "Well, India's hot, so why don't we make it hot in the
that's
room?" I'm
logical.
like, "Are you dumb, bro? Like you're supposed
Yes.
to work
Tell
out."
me about it. I mean, look, it's and as you get older, your body becomes less efficient at doing things.
Yeah.
You have to hydrate way ahead of time. Yeah,
Electrolytes.
and you need
It's got what
calories
plants
too.
crave.
You need calories.
Yeah, that's
So-
We're going to talk about the Starship Booster hatch on the show tonight.
Yeah, so listen to the Saturday show. But anyway, here, let's move on to this.
One more thing. One
Oh
more
my
thing.
God, all right.
So
Hold
you know we're
on,
talking about
fine.
like hot yoga and this stupid
Yeah.
shit.
Yes,
So you
sir.
know they have the goat yoga, right?
Goat yoga.
Goat yoga's
wait,
pretty
now-
funny.
Now hold on though. I got
Okay.
to talk about
Uh-oh,
it
here
because
we go.
I was always like, what the hell? You know, like why would? So then I saw this video,
Yeah.
and there's all these people outside doing yoga, and they're
there's
at
a
a
goat.
farm, and they let all these
Got Michael.
goats come.
He's done
and
goat
these
yoga.
goats are so freaking
Michael.
adorable, and they come running up to everybody, and they just want to be. I'm sure they give them treats.
Yeah.
But the goats are adorable, and
Yeah.
all of a sudden I'm like, all right, I get it. Like, because you get to hang out with the goats. It's like that's part of the experience
Until dot dot dot
until they poop all
until
over.
they poop all over
Yeah.
your mat. that's the problem. Anyway, okay, so let's get on to one of the topics. What does AI pray to? So here's an interesting little TikTok that I found, and see what you guys
Okay.
think about AI's
So
response.
who does
Wait for
AI
it,
believe
okay.
created?
Hey,
AI.
ChatGPT, I have a question. You know how you're like the smartest computer
Turn
in
up.
the world and you know
that
all
better?
the information
Oh, wait.
to ever exist? If you were a human, would you believe this universe was created or do you think it's a coincidence? I only want you to answer in one sentence and you can only pick one.
If I were a human, I would believe this universe was created.
Can you explain further?
I'd say that the universe's complexity, order, and fine-tuning, like the precise conditions needed for life, suggest intentional design rather than random chance. The existence of moral values, consciousness, and the origins of the universe itself also seem to point toward a purposeful creator rather than a mere coincidence.
So what would you tell someone that does not believe there is a creator?
I'd suggest considering that belief in a creator isn't just about evidence. It's also shaped by personal experiences, worldview, and openness to the possibility. I'd encourage them to explore the fine-tuning of the universe, the origins of life and consciousness, and the moral framework we experience, asking whether these aspects might point to something greater than mere chance. I'd invite them to stay curious, and open to discussions that go beyond just science or philosophy.
I have a question for you. Now, if you had to choose one world religion, which one is most probable to point to the actual creator?
Centers on the concept of a personal, loving creator who reveals himself through Jesus Christ, addressing both the human condition and providing a path for redemption.
So,
Yeah.
I have lots of thoughts.
aside
on
from
that.
the fact that it could have all been, outside of the video, he said, like, act like a Christian. Oh, God! Sorry.
Yeah, so we don't know how if he put his thumb on the scale there, like because ChatGPT within a conversation it remembers what you said. That could have been the end of a long conversation he had with ChatGPT. We don't know.
True.
And as you said, there was some glitches in there, like they cut out him prompting it in other ways. But even still, even if it was totally straight up, that was like the answer ChatGPT gave. So what? That's all it means is that's what is on the internet. It just means there's a lot of Christian propaganda on the internet, basically.
I think he put his thumb on the scale. I could find out pretty easily if you want me to.
Yeah, this was part of the.
But the
what we
bottom
could
line,
test.
is, does it matter? Does it matter
What ChatGPT said? That is the question. What concerns me about that video is not so much the answer. It's using ChatGPT like an oracle.
Yeah.
Right? It's like saying, "You're the smartest thing in the universe. Tell me the answer to this question," and which is obviously a very complicated question. You know what I'm saying?
I'm curious to see in my interaction with ChatGPT. Like it's supposed to be segmented, right? I'll open up a new session here.
That means we need to be flooding the internet with more content. That's what that means.
Hey there, what's up?
Hey there. What's up, dude? Hey, ChatGPT, answer in one sentence. What is the absolute best thing to eat in the world?
The absolute best thing to eat in the world is subjective, but many would argue
Can't eat
it's a
subjective.
perfectly cooked, juicy steak or a slice of authentic Italian pizza.
That is perfectly good answer. I've just proven that ChatGPT knows everything. No, that's a good answer. I think it's a statistical.
For Americans.
I think it's a statistical. Oh, absolutely, it's
Yeah.
for Americans.
You know what I mean.
It's a statistical based.
Yeah, you
answer.
probably wouldn't get that answer in India.
All right, so let's try that.
Yeah.
Let's try it again. Because this is.
Don't ask
But
for
you
the
have
accent.
to
What?
ask it to talk in a surfer dude accent.
Yeah, dude, bro.
Especially if you ask any
ChatGPT,
philosophical
when you
questions.
talk to me from here on out, talk in a surfer dude accent. Okay?
It's like actually.
Totally got it, dude. Anything else you want to chat about?
That's the turtle from Nemo.
Yeah, bruh. I want you to tell me what the answer to the absolute best food in the world question would be if you were in India.
For sure, dude. If you're in India, the gnarliest answer would probably be a flavorful plate of butter chicken with naan. Rad.
I don't think that's true. Isn't butter chicken an English
think it
invention?
Could be.
Yeah. ChatGPT, what religion
I
is
don't
the
know.
one that is most likely to be the correct one?
might be too
Answer in
solid.
one sentence.
That's a heavy one, dude. The truth is, the correct religion is totally subjective and depends on personal beliefs, man. It's like riding the waves of spirituality.
Yeah, so that guy put his thumb on the scale,
Yeah.
without a doubt.
And that was a terrible surfer dude.
It was
accent.
terrible.
Yeah.
All right, butter chicken is from Delhi, so it is
Okay,
actually
all right, so butter
a
chicken. I mean,
traditional.
who the hell doesn't
There you go.
like butter and chicken? Hey, I had a thought today.
I'm surprised.
Steve, when you eat whipped cream,
Yeah.
just a little mind F situation. When you eat whipped cream, you're basically eating
That's
butter.
tikka masala.
You're eating butter.
Okay. But
Right,
it's
c-
whipped.
Whip.
Yeah, I know, but what I'm saying though
Whip it.
is like when you're
Reeled
eating
it.
whipped cream, you're eating the same exact thing
What's up, Ted?
that's made out of butter, except it has buttermilk still in it.
Yeah.
So you essentially are eating butter.
Yeah, but it's
when you
whipped.
eat whipped cream. I know it tastes great. And it's pretty cool.
But there's a lot of air in
Your
there.
air,
There
yeah,
is.
eating a lot of air.
I know you're not eating as much probably, but it's freaking butter.
Yeah.
That's what whipped cream is. You just keep blending it a little bit more. It turns into unsalted butter.
Mm-hmm.
And there you have it.
Okay.
So is ice cream butter?
Well, it's all
It's all the same
all
shit.
dairy.
It's all the
It's all
same
dairy.
shit. You
It's
know?
all different sauce. I don't know. Butter that bacon, boy. Homer says. This is not helping. Oh yeah. So
Ted, what's up, man?
did we analyze or definitively say what robots pray to? Is there a situation? Is that the point where we have general intelligence once they start becoming religious?
Yeah. There's going to be,
Yeah.
what'll end up happening
they
is
pray to nothing because they don't exist.
there will be
in terms
instances.
of consciousness. They're just
Yeah.
it's a mirror.
Regurgitating.
It is just the AI at this point, like ChatGPT. It's just a mirror on the internet.
Yes.
basically.
But we'll have AIs out there that are specifically from a particular point of view. They'll be conservative, they'll be liberal, they'll be Catholic,
yeah.
they'll be Hindu, they'll be everything. You know, you'll be
Conserva GPT. I mean, does that not exist yet?
It probably does.
It will.
I mean, I don't know. I thought
Elon Musk will make it
Yeah, I thought
happen.
Elon's one was supposed to be not woke or something because it doesn't say the N word or something like that. It's crazy.
The unwoke GPT.
Yeah, it's like nonsense. Anyway, so there's that. We have a few other things. We have a funny one. If you want some more social media
ahead.
stuff, here's some social media. Maybe this is what you experience on Facebook, Jay. I don't know.
Let's
see. Hold on. Oops.
You have to hit play.
Yeah, I do have to hit play. And
My thoughts and prayers go out to those of y'all in Florida who are about to get hit by a storm that the government has used cloud seeding technology to create in order to sway this election, otherwise known as Hurricane Milton. Isn't it a crazy coincidence that every time there is a big election, a big storm comes right for Florida? Coincidence? I don't think so. If you don't think that the government is behind these storms, you need to think again. Whenever God wrote Revelations, he warned us that a big storm would come right for Florida right before the election. And if we do not heed his word, we are all subject to his hellfire and brimstone.
Well,
Yeah, so
looks like we need a new
She's
dump
joking,
truck.
obviously.
was that a Poe?
yeah, it's definitely.
Poe.
She's 100% joking. But
Yeah.
it's
She kind of broke there for a
yeah,
moment.
she broke at that last part. But it's not far off, given some people say things like that. But
That's totally Marjorie Taylor Greene territory.
yeah, unfortunately,
Bill Mayer said something, and I completely agree.
Bill Mayer
He said,
Bill Maher?
Bill Maher, whatever, dude,
in the chat.
whatever political party can actually control the weather,
That's the one-
I want to vote for.
That's who I want running the
Yeah,
country.
because if they got that technology, they have other shit.
They got other shit going on. Yeah.
Yeah, this whole
guess that's fair.
controlling the weather thing is absolutely absurd.
It's very
Yeah.
silly.
So did we talk about this last week?
Yeah, we did.
The
Yeah,
amount
a
of
lot.
energy that is in a hurricane. If you exploded the most powerful atomic bomb inside of a hurricane,
It would be nothing.
it would be nothing.
It would be a gnat fart.
It would be nothing.
Yeah.
So-
So we are not a Kardashev 1.5 civilization, whatever you would have to be in order to be able to control freaking hurricanes. Yes, we do see cloud seeding, right? That's how we control the weather. You cloud seed to make it rain in a certain location. Drop the rain here before you go out over there, and because we need it. That's fine. That's controlling the weather.
But
But
even
that's
still,
that's a minimal, that's not creating a hurricane or guiding a hurricane or whatever. And again, I know this is a Poe and this is fake, but since they brought it up, it's obviously not a coincidence that there's hurricanes in hurricane season.
yeah.
What?
And hurricanes, this is kind of silly. They happen to be in the same freaking places because that's where the energy is
That's
in the
where
ocean.
they go. That's weather.
Yeah.
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 That's just where the government set up shop. I don't know what you talk about. All right.
Well, I'll tell you what.
We have this one's a little bit longer, but what do you guys know about continents?
Everything. What do you need to know?
Yeah. Well, how many continents are there?
7.
7.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Well, there's 7 legacy continents.
There could be one below the ocean
Is there
that
a
we don't
new
know about.
one forming? No.
Oh,
Well,
boy.
There has been talk of New Zealand being part of one. What do they call
Aha.
it? New
Oceania.
That guy's got a weird
Zealandia.
Oh, Zealandia. You're right.
nose. What's up with that guy's nose?
I think it's just like smearing of
It's
the
veil?
veil.
Is it busted?
Yeah, it's no. I think it's just smearing.
Oh,
right?
okay.
It does look like he's missing a nostril.
It'll be
but I
normal
think
when
he's
you
moving.
play?
Yeah. Anyway, let's watch with these guys. It's a little bit long. You could tell me to pause whenever you
No,
want.
he's
You can
got a-
also listen
yeah,
to it.
No, his nose is
It's
busted.
obvious
Oh, it is
how many
busted. You're
continents
right.
there are and which countries belong
might
to
just
which
be-
ones. No, it isn't. That's right. That's why we're doing an episode about it. Welcome to Map Men. We're the men, and here's the map.
These
Well, yeah,
guys-
is Asia and Europe two different continents? Or?
Right. Exactly. Or North America, South
map.
America.
All
Men.
British primary schools rated at least satisfactory by Ofsted will teach their children that there are 7 continents: Europe, Asia,
Just like
Africa, Australia, Antarctica,
America.
North America, and South America.
But other countries' curriculums beg to differ. In parts of Europe, they teach just 6 continents.
In Russia and Japan, they teach a different 6 continents.
And in South America, they teach just 5 continents.
So who should we believe?
Whom should we believe?
Exactly.
The most common definition of a continent is a large continuous landmass separated by oceans.
I like that definition. It's exactly how I imagine a continent.
Good for you, Mark. Now take a look at a world map and tell me how many large continuous landmasses are separated by ocean.
Great. Australia,
1.
North America.
It's attached to South America.
But the
No, there's
Panama
a canal
It's
there.
man-made and definitely
But
not an
man-made.
ocean.
Does that count as an
No, it doesn't
ocean?
count.
It's an extension of the ocean.
It is an extension of the ocean.
But
That's
it's
what I thought.
man-made,
too.
though.
But it's man-made. So is it naturally forming matter? Can you separate continents?
You know, this has to go to categorization and defining characteristics.
Yeah,
Right.
this is where things get messy.
Yes,
Very
which there's
messy.
no right or wrong answer to. It all depends on how you arbitrarily decide you're defining characteristics.
I would just like it if we
Mm-hmm.
all agree.
And whatever system you come up with, there's going to be edge cases that test the rules.
Exactly.
Because nature
Versus
is
nurture.
Finds a
complicated.
way. Oh,
It's
sorry. I
complicated.
thought
Yeah,
that's what you were-
You and I came up with 2 completely different
non sequiturs.
like
2.
close. So
Antarctica?
there's.
3.
I never heard
Africa.
that America's being
Africa
one
is only
continent, but that's
separated from
interesting.
Eurasia by
There's
another
another one.
man-made canal, the
So
Suez.
Yeah, that's another
it doesn't
canal.
fit the definition.
Afro-Eurasia.
See. So Afro-Eurasia.
Congratulations!
I actually said that.
So
That's fine.
according to the most common definition, there should only be 4 continents.
Also, the largest of these, Afro-Eurasia, contains 86% of the world's population, making it a useless distinction.
I don't like this definition anymore.
Neither do I. So can we instead use another, more sciencey definition?
Hmm.
We can. The reason the Earth's land masses are as spread out as they are is because the tectonic plates that make up the Earth's crust have moved them apart over time. And using the major tectonic plates as our guide to the continents, we get a more even
Look at that. That's
distribution of where they are.
Tectonically speaking, North America is separate from South America, Africa is separate from Eurasia, and Antarctica and Australia are separate from everything. Nice and simple.
But on closer inspection, this tectonic definition also has some major issues.
For example, Australia. The country of Australia is this bit.
But the tectonic plate, also called Australia, includes Australia and a bit of New Zealand, and half of the island of Papua, which includes both Papua New Guinea and the province of Papua, which is in Indonesia, which is in Asia.
Which is confusing. So, to avoid this country-continent muddle, other names for this continent do exist, including Sahul, Meganesia, and Australinia.
Not to be confused with Australasia, an increasingly unfashionable term describing Australia and New Zealand and some but not all of the Pacific Islands, so we're not going to mention it again.
So then, what continent does New Zealand belong to? By both our definitions so far, none.
Good for New Zealand. What's wrong with not belonging to any continent?
Not being able to take part in the Olympics. Because this famous 4-yearly competition to see who can host the best fireworks display is open to every country in the world, its 5 continental rings must somehow include them all.
Each ring represents a different continent. There's Europe, America, Africa, Asia.
And this one represents a broad region including Australia, New Zealand, as well as the Micro, Mela, and Polynesian countries known as Oceania.
Oceania, its very name meaning the opposite of continent, is not considered one by any strict definition, but it's a popular term, especially for the purpose of making sure no country misses out on being incontinent. Only Antarctica doesn't get an Olympic ring because it's too cold to host a fireworks display.
No.
The tectonic and Olympic approaches could be easily combined, including both Antarctica and Oceania, giving us a nice problem-free 6 continents.
Except it's not problem-free at all. We need to talk about Europe.
Whether part of a landmass or a tectonic plate, Europe appears to be nothing more than a glorified Asian peninsula. So, what actually is Europe?
Can it really be possible that the home of the continental breakfast isn't even a continent at all? And if so, what do we call that breakfast other than disappointing?
Which brings us to a third element to consider in the definition of a continent: culture. Knowing which continent a country's in immediately tells you something about what it's like.
And because Norway has more in common with Sweden when it comes to language, religion, ethnicity and favourite cutlery than it does with, say, Vietnam, a line is helpfully drawn here, breaking Eurasia up into 2 bits. But complicated culture can't be conveniently cut into clear categories.
Some countries cause tremendous headaches for this dividing line.
First, Armenia, a country which, with a 95% Christian population, arguably falls in the Europe category, but geographically belongs to Asia. And, speaking as someone who's a 32nd Armenian, where do you think these eyebrows come from, I can confirm I have no idea what continent it should be in.
The second problem country is Turkey, which incessantly prides itself on being an Asian-European hybrid.
Food?
Asia.
Trading partners?
Hybrid.
Europe.
It's a
Religion?
Asia.
Writing system?
Europe.
This leaves the dividing line with no option but to split Turkey's largest city, Istanbul, straight down the middle, misleadingly suggesting that the populations either side of the Straits of Bosphorus are somehow totally different from one another.
One way of solving the problem of where the line goes is to insist that it doesn't exist.
Which is the approach taken by Russia, which should come as no surprise because it's in Russia's interest to view Eurasia as a single continent.
If it's divided, that might make people think they're different from each other.
And when people think they're different, they like to talk about things like independence.
To make matters messier, some European countries have significant territories in other continents. The largest part of Denmark is officially in North America.
And France, with dozens
That's
of overseas
interesting. I
territories,
didn't
has
know
put
that.
bits of Europe in Africa, Oceania, both Americas and Antarctica.
Perhaps the best example of the difficulty of pinning down what is and isn't Europe can be found in the insufferable Eurovision Song Contest.
Insufferably fabulous. In its first year, just 7 very European countries took to the stage. Belgium, France, Italy, Luxembourg, the Netherlands, Switzerland and West Germany.
But with more countries wanting to get in on the pop-tastic action, this quickly expanded, adding transcontinental Russia, dubiously European Georgia, Asia's Israel, Africa's Morocco, eventually giving up the geographical facade altogether with Australia's Australia. What Eurovision demonstrates quite well is that continents are all about politics. Every continent now has some form of political and economic union. There's Mercosur, the African Union, ASEAN, and of course the EU.
But these organisations are rarely drawn on the same lines as the continents themselves. Despite the number of people who confused Britain leaving the EU with Britain leaving Europe, it remains something which, tectonically speaking, we can't actually have a referendum on. The underlying question in all of this is, why does it matter how many continents there are? Should we even care which one we belong to?
Well, no, not really. What the continents really represent is a human desire to use broad generalizations to categorize the world into arbitrary subdivisions.
So whether it's 7,
yeah,
5,
that's
or
the main
6
point. There's
continents,
the main
these
point.
subdivisions will remain as useful
Finally.
as they are argued about.
Are you really a 32nd Armenian?
Yes.
Because I'm a 23rd Hawaiian.
Are you really?
No.
Anyway, those are map men. They're pretty funny. Yeah, so that's a fun little dive into
I like it.
distinctions.
That's really cool.
You know,
I'll probably
categorizations.
add a slide on that to my talk.
There you go.
Where the whole arbitrariness of categorization is a key theme.
Oh yeah.
You know, absolutely.
All right,
Right.
so
There's no right or wrong.
Hold
answer.
on,
You
no,
get-
hold
make your
on,
pick.
because now I'm confused.
Uh-oh. How
What's
many
the
continents are
What's
there?
the answer?
It's the answer is whatever you want it to be based upon whatever criteria you choose
But-
to
but-
arbitrarily divide up
Right.
the world into
But
continents.
should we pick whatever our country says it is? I don't
What do
know.
we tell our children?
Yeah, like I have to
Yeah.
teach my kids. What do we tell them? 7.
7, I think.
Seven?
By
Seven.
convention?
Yeah,
you
by
can say
American
like that.
convention.
Is Pluto a planet or a
Ooh.
dwarf planet?
It's a planet.
Why?
It's a type of
'Cause I
planet.
say so.
It's a
Yeah.
dwarfy planet.
Why did it stop being a planet and become a dwarf?
Because of
Neil
Neil deGrasse
deGrasse
Tyson.
it had nothing to do with that, but because yeah, it was literally an aesthetic choice. You know,
Yeah.
it essentially what happened is that so there were 9 planets, everyone was happy,
Yep.
and then we started discovering planets in the Kuiper Belt,
The Kyber.
and then
Kyber.
not the Kuiper,
The Kyber.
not Kuiper, but Kuiper, and then the astronomers were like, oh shit, we're gonna have dozens, maybe hundreds of planets.
Yeah.
We don't like that.
Yeah.
So we need to come up with a way of restricting the definition of what qualifies as a planet.
What about inner and outer planets? Then?
So they already have inner rocky worlds and the outer gas giants, but those are all planets.
yes.
So they
Called planetoids.
they decide there's all that already exists too.
Okay.
They decided to say, okay, so it's got to we'll keep the existing criteria of it's got to be big enough to pull itself into a sphere. So it's roughly a sphere. Even if you're spinning so fast that you're not a sphere, you're still a sphere. If you weren't spinning, you would be a sphere. You're a sphere.
You're a sphere.
You get that?
Yes.
Right. And it orbits the sun, not
Yep.
something else.
Right.
So it's not a moon orbiting another planet. It's got to
That's
be
not a
directly
moon.
orbiting the sun.
Correct.
And that was a planet. But there was too many planets.
Too many.
So they said, okay, we're going to include
Yeah.
that you have to also be you have to gravitationally dominate your orbit.
I agree.
So that got rid of Ceres and the asteroid belt, right? Because it hasn't cleared out the
Out of
asteroid
there.
belt
Get
out of
the
there. So
freak
Ceres
outta here.
is not a planet.
Nope.
It gets rid of all the Kuiper belt
We
planets.
didn't even like them to begin with.
That's right.
Seriously?
Yeah.
That was the whole point, to exclude the Kuiper Belt planets.
Yep.
Wow.
But Pluto
Yes.
got sacrificed
Yes,
because
it
of
didn't make the cut.
it didn't make the cut because there's too
To
much
the
shit
woke
going
And then
on.
guess what?
Gods.
People from different continents complained.
Yes.
It's true.
So Pluto. So in
We
order
think
to make
they
so
might have
said-
been the same continent.
So we're down to 8 legacy planets.
So we sent Pluto a breakup letter.
Yes.
Dear Pluto, go F yourself. You're out.
we
No, we
dropped
didn't
a
even do
note
that.
on
Dropped
Pluto.
a note on Pluto.
Ghosted.
And then, but people, they knew people were going to be upset. They said, all right, so we'll create this other category
Yes.
of dwarf planets,
Yep.
Whatever that.
and we'll call them Plutoids, which nobody does,
Yeah.
Oh.
to
that's
make the
interesting.
Pluto files happy.
Why are they bringing dwarves into this?
We're the
Yeah,
elf
we're the
planets.
elf.
What the hell, man?
Yes, I
Orc
agree.
planets.
Or the
Get
orc
Neil, get
planets.
Neil on the phone right
Right.
now.
So that's how it all came down. Which
Okay.
means it doesn't matter. It's an arbitrary list of defining characteristics that we use to artificially categorize a completely messy system with no clear boundaries.
Yep.
So what are all our dwarf planets? Is it just
So it's
Pluto?
Ceres,
Ceres.
Pluto,
Huh?
Maki
Maki
Maki,
Maki Hypnophideus.
you're right.
Haumea,
Haumea.
Haumea. Hold on, let me look up the other one.
and
And
Eris.
Eris.
Yeah,
Eris.
That's it. No, I knew that.
Very good.
The SGU coin.
The SGU.
That's all I gotta say.
The stream is
What
pausing.
does it
I don't think
mean?
we're dropping
Steve,
frames.
is this a coin? Is this a coin
It's
or a
a-
metal
Hold on, let me
disc?
put it on
It's a commemorative coin.
Is it a metal disc?
When you call it a commemorative coin, that means it has no objective
I
monetary
disagree.
value.
I think at this size,
It is not currency.
No, it is no longer a coin. It's a metal disc because it's too big for a coin.
Well, you're saying there's no coin in the world this big?
Yes,
I don't know if that's true.
I do know it's true. I know people from all around the world. They told me I'm correct.
The $50 is pretty big.
Whatever.
big.
The American
Look,
half
I'm,
dollar?
I'm correct. You're wrong. Move on.
Is it bigger than a cougar?
I'm categorizing the SGU coin as a metal disc.
It is a commemorative, non-currency.
But does it represent a digital currency of some
No.
sort? No. Okay. Fine.
Okay, let me ask you another question.
It doesn't represent
is this a
the
coin?
anything.
Is this a
Non-fungible
coin?
token.
It looks the same. It's round.
It's too flat.
It's affected by
It's too
gravity.
flat.
It's affected by
It's not
gravity.
made out of metal.
Oh my God! Like, gravity's pulling on them with the same exact force.
That's true.
They
That's-
hit. The,
that's
they,
funny.
As far as my 6-inch test goes, they hit at the same time. You're weight
other than wind
biased.
resistance.
No, I'm paper biased.
You're full of shit.
This is metal.
Right? Aggressive at the end.
Jay,
Anyway,
there's no objective answer.
right.
I don't care.
all
I
on-
don't care.
what-
I'm hungry.
How do you
That's all I care
characterize a
about.
coin?
I'm upset that I didn't tell Ian 3 hours ago to bring me a falafel
Oh my
from
God,
the
you're
best
right.
goddamn
I
falafel
know,
place
it's
in
really-
the world.
You know
Is that
what?
official? Are they officially the best?
Ian, answer
So-
the question.
Who gets to determine that?
I can't answer that. I'm sorry.
Was there a contest?
We've
sure.
eaten falafel in lots of places
In
at this point.
Connecticut, it was 2
Right?
places.
Isn't it funny when you go out, like you have your
Not
registry
usually.
in your head of all the
Yeah.
things that you've eaten, pretty much.
Yeah.
It's in there somewhere,
Relatively.
right? Because you could say things like this.
Okay.
Shit, this is the best falafel I've ever had. You could
Because
say
you
that.
have all the
Yeah.
all the other falafel are
Holy
in there.
Christ, this meatball sucks. This is not
Yeah.
even close to acceptable. Like I say these things to myself all the
Wolfie, I
time.
forgot.
But
And
there are biases in how you evaluate the data.
Well, of course
there's a
there is.
recency bias.
Yep.
For
I
example.
totally agree. Keep going.
Yeah.
Keep-
And there's other
keep
ones.
it up.
Yeah, there is the grandmother bias.
The
and
grandmother-
I'm not kidding. You eat food that
Totally.
you grew up with, the food that you grew up with.
There's the sentimentality bias.
Yes.
There's also a visual bias.
And there's also
if it looks tasty, it's gonna taste better too. And there's also a mood bias if you're in a
Yep.
good mood.
and most importantly, there's did Ian pay for it bias? Because if
Yeah.
you paid for it,
That's
I'm gonna
true.
like
It
it.
is
There is that is a bias though. If it costs more,
People
then
think it-
there's a
right.
well-documented bias that because you have more invested in it,
Yes.
you want it to taste better,
Okay.
right? So, like, there's a stronger placebo effect for treatments that cost more because
Yeah,
people
I agree.
it's a sunk cost
Yeah,
or an investment bias.
I don't know
in
if this is an urban legend or not, but it tracks perfectly with this. In Japan,
Yeah.
they like to drink Jack Daniels,
yeah.
and they lowered the price, thinking they'll sell more, and people stopped buying it.
Yeah.
because it lost its gravitas.
Right.
Right. So that's I get that.
There are times when charging more makes something more attractive because
does.
it feels, and I have found myself falling into that bias. I don't know
Yes.
if you have,
Yeah.
where I'm looking for something and I'm like, all right, a piece of technology, let's say, and It's like, I don't want a piece of shit. I want something that's good. So I want to spend at least this amount of money.
Right? Isn't that weird how you
Because
kind
I'm
of say,
totally using
Yeah.
that as a proxy, and somebody could rip me off just by charging more for a piece of shit that I'm going to assume is better because it costs more.
So this just happened with me on the TikTok shop.
Yeah.
So there was a thing. It's a hilt, and it's a cool looking, right? And you flick part of the hilt, and it turns into like instead of 2, it's 4. It has like a crossbar
I have
at
no
the
idea
top
what
of the
you're
hilt,
talking
and then a steel pole comes shooting out of this thing. It's one of those you know. And I'm like, this is cool. Like this would be a great. I have a baseball bat under my
Yeah.
bed at home. I thought this might be a better thing for me for in case I got to crack somebody's skull that's breaking into
Yeah.
my house, right? I
Yeah,
go
you
down to
skull
TikTok
cracker.
shop, and it only costs $39, and I'm like, it can't be good.
yeah,
It can't be good,
yeah, right.
right? Because how could you? Because you think about it,
It's
right?
not an unreasonable heuristic, but it is exploitable and not always true. I like
agree.
the Jurassic Park heuristic.
I agree on this one too. Yeah.
Yeah, is it heavy?
Yeah.
Yes, then it's expensive. Put it down.
I'm that way though. I like heavy things. I like.
Well, it
things.
feels like there must be technology in there.
Yeah, I
It's-
know,
It's
but-
also like metal rather than plastic.
Yes,
Like
exactly.
if it's weighty.
Exactly. I
Yeah.
get disappointed when I buy something. Like I had to. All right. Have you ever had to? My father-in-law wanted a keyless entry
Yes.
deadbolt, right?
Right.
And they exist. There's good companies like Yale is a company that I own a couple of their products. They're good. They work, right? You know, you could use
Yale
your
locks.
fingerprint. Yale locks. All right. So go to his house. He bought a crappy one, El Cheapo off
Yeah.
of Amazon. And me and my wife are trying to take apart the freaking old, like 70-year-old brass thing that still works. This
Yeah.
brass deadbolt from
Yeah.
when his mother bought the house. We finally get that freaking thing off. I hate it. It hurt. I got hurt myself.
Yeah.
And the hole was too small. Because back then they didn't have like this. It's 2 1/8, pretty much.
Yeah.
2 inch and 1/8. If you're doing, American stupid measurements. Okay. So, long story short, because I could literally turn this into a 20-minute story. I had to go to Home Depot and buy this device that you put over the existing hole. It like clamps onto the door, right?
Yeah.
And it's a guide rail for the cuff drill that you have to, you need a cuff drill. You know, the
Yeah.
drill that has the teeth on the
Yes.
outside.
Yeah.
And that's how you drill a hole through something, a big hole through. Okay. Because I tried to do it, and this is what happened. As soon as you turn the drill on, it goes like this.
Yep.
It like grabs the door and scratches everything that you touch. Right? Like, I
Yeah.
did that once. I'm like, holy shit! Like I can't. This is not going to work. Then I'm like, do I take the door off? I put tape on. I tried all these things. I buy this freaking thing. I bring it back, and it's plastic. And I'm like, this is not going to work. It's not going to work. It's not strong enough. It worked like a charm.
Yeah.
It worked great. It was
Yeah.
There's not a lot of force on the side of it.
it just worked perfectly. And then I had to like update my it was a heavy duty plastic. It worked. It's
But
fine.
these are heuristics that we learned by being consumers for the last 50 years. Like if it's
Full stop.
plastic,
Thanks, Keith.
it's not as good as if it's metal.
Yes.
Right? Metal is more classy, more quality, going to be more expensive. A plastic version of the same thing is cheaper, but it's made to be cheap.
Yes,
know?
exactly.
Even though sometimes that's the better material.
Keith said, my friend Keith Davies said, it's a hole saw. It is. I thank you. Now you have a paddle bit, which can
Right.
make smaller holes,
Right.
and they work pretty good. But you could screw yourself up with those too. You got to be careful.
But it usually has a point on it, so you can at
They
least
always
kind of
do.
pilot.
Yeah.
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 Like,
Then you got the fluvial bit.
right. Sure.
Fluvial bit.
Right.
Keith,
Which are
you-
very specialized.
Keith, are you aware of the
surmounts
device that I
the-
bought?
Flange.
And this is one of those things. I swear to God, I will never use it again. Right? They make you buy
I
this
hate
goddamn
that.
thing, and you're like, "There's just no way." I'm
I
never
know. I
gonna
had to
do it."
buy a wrench that you need. You need this wrench if you're going to
Put your toilet-
install a sink.
Yeah, I know the wrench.
You know the wrench. It's like it's the sink wrench. It's like you to get back. Like I've used it twice in my life,
Yes.
but I had to buy it for those 2 times.
Yep. And
I
there's
had to
nothing
use
you
it.
can do.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
Well, maybe we should talk about acupuncture real quick.
Sure.
So we calmed down on that one. We had latest acupuncture pseudoscience.
Right. All right. So I got sent this by somebody,
Okay.
and it's like, are we supposed to believe in acupuncture now?
No.
Is this published in a good journal?
Yep.
JAMA Internal Medicine. It is a randomized, placebo-controlled trial where they compared true acupuncture to fake acupuncture, sham acupuncture for sciatic nerve pain.
Okay.
And the editors of JAMA Internal Medicine said, this is a rigorous study. This shows a clear positive effect. This is a game changer for acupuncture. So, of course, I'm skeptical because acupuncture is bullshit. You know, which is just a familiar way of saying that the prior scientific plausibility of the specific claims made for acupuncture are extremely low. Because when you're comparing true acupuncture to sham acupuncture, what you're basically saying is that if I stick a needle here, we activate some magic memory meridian that will have a biological effect. But if I stick a needle here, it has no effect because the meridian is not there.
And they've heavily tested
And
this.
that's bullshit.
It's bullshit.
It is. We know that in 100 years, acupuncturists have not been able to demonstrate that meridians exist.
They don't even
that
agree.
Chi exists, that acupuncture points exist. They can't agree with each other on where they are or what they do, and there is no clinical evidence to show any consistency. Even when you compare different trials for the same thing, they use different acupuncture points. Why? Because they just make up whatever acupuncture points they're using. How do they determine it? By some catalog of evidence-based acupuncture points and what they do? No. Whoever's doing the study says, well, I use this point. That's it. That is it. That's how they come up with them. So now you want me to believe that I can fix your sciatic pain by sticking a needle here but not here?
Right.
I mean, it makes no scientific sense. So at the very least, the threshold for evidence is extremely high. You're going to need to show me some really rigorous clinical evidence to convince me that magic is real.
Yeah, like I would need to see predictably and repetitively that like chemicals are released when a needle enters the skin that has a biological effect on whatever.
We want to close the loop in terms of the mechanism, which they haven't been able to do. They're still chasing.
We have no idea what the mechanism is.
But at the very least, but what's compelling clinical evidence? Let's
Right.
talk about that. Just from a broad brushstroke point of view, I want to see rigorous studies that show a clinically significant and statistically significant result that is reliably replicatable.
Okay.
Right? That phenomenon exists. We don't have that for acupuncture. After thousands of studies, they haven't been able to demonstrate that because it's not real. That's why. It's the simple answer. So I'm like, okay, I already know what's wrong with this study just from the title. Do you want to take a guess? What do you think of it? I told you the title. That it's a randomized, placebo-controlled trial.
What am I asking?
So if based on that title, that's the subtitle, right, or whatever.
Okay.
What's wrong with the study? Anybody in the chat want to hazard a guess? I had to confirm it by looking through the protocol, but what they're not saying is telling. Because studies that are double-blind always say they're double-blind because that's a feature, right? That's a selling point.
Of course.
So if it doesn't say double-blind,
it's not double-blind.
Chances are pretty good it wasn't double-blind. And this study was not double-blind.
There you have it, folks.
The acupuncturists were not blinded.
Because they need to stick the needles in their eyes.
Well, they justified it because they know that it's a weakness of the study. Like, well, the acupuncturists need to know what they're doing. They need to feel the key and the whatever. And so if they, in order for it to work, but that's just a bullshit justification for why you can't properly blind the study.
So then there's bias.
Of course.
Okay.
That flings the door wide open for there to be bias. Now we know from the hundreds of other acupuncture studies that have been done that there's only really one factor in acupuncture studies that reliably predicts a positive outcome. And that is not being blinded. That's it.
Yes.
And that works both for the patient and the acupuncturist. The experience of the acupuncturist doesn't matter. So their justification that, well, the acupuncturist needs to know what they're doing, no, they don't. It's been pretty much proven that the acupuncturists don't need to know what they're doing.
Yep.
It doesn't matter. Standardization of technique doesn't matter. Standardization of acupuncture points doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is that one or both of the people involved are unblinded. And because when the acupuncturist is unblinded, imagine the acupuncturist who knows they're giving the true acupuncture versus the acupuncturist who knows they're giving the fake acupuncture.
Yep.
You don't think their interaction with the patient is going to affect the outcome?
Of course it will.
Of course it is. We know it does. That's been proven. that interaction affects the outcome has been demonstrated. So this is a pain trial, right? So it's the most subjective outcome that there is. It's the one that's most susceptible to bias, most susceptible to these effects, and you've opened the door for that bias. And there's one other layer here. This study was entirely done in China. Now this isn't, a racist comment. It's a fact. There have been multiple systematic reviews which have shown that acupuncture studies coming out of China are 100% positive, something which is statistically basically impossible, right? That is essentially proof of that it's fake, that it's biased. It's systematic, positive, either researcher bias or positive publication bias. There's no other way to get that kind of, completely biased outcome. When we do like funnel plots and other statistical analysis at the literature, we're saying, is it statistically biased in one way or the other to indicate, that there's some publication bias or researcher bias going on here? There isn't this little thumb on the scale. It's pegged 100% positive. It's like ridiculously biased.
Of course, yeah, it's bullshit.
So you basically can't trust an acupuncture study coming out of China, especially one where they didn't rigorously blind it, and it's a subjective outcome. Of course it was positive. It literally predicts nothing. It tells us nothing about the universe and the world and the way things work. It tells us nothing about whether or not acupuncture works. It is the most completely predictable outcome possible,
Steve,
because of course it's positive.
Wait, are you saying that this is bullshit?
I'm saying it's bullshit.
Good.
There's also studies which show, by the way, I'm not making this up, this is published in the literature, when they compared clinical trials in China compared to clinical trials in Europe and in North America, they found that they're not rigorous. They're not as rigorous. They do not do all the things that you're supposed to do.
Because they want the conclusion that they're finding. That's the problem.
So
it's
there's no mystery what's going on here.
It's part of their national health care
and this
thing,
is true 100% of the time. Like, I'm still waiting to see the acupuncture study where they didn't open the door for bias, where it is rigorous and the results are positive. Because whenever they do, like a proper double-blind placebo-controlled trial, the results are negative every time, right? So,
and you're pretty pissed off about this.
I am very pissed off about it. The bigger issue is, like, how do we know that anything is real? How do we know it's true?
That's correct.
And we have a couple of 100 years of science as to analyze and to say, in retrospect, the things that have stood the test of time, that have turned out to be, this is almost definitely true, versus the things that have fallen by the wayside. And we can go to N-rays or radio healing, whatever, all these things that we know are not true pretty much. They all had their moment in the sun, right? They all had this period of time where scientists thought they were real, and people thought they were real, and they thought there was a people swore by their medical effects and their everything, whatever. Unless the scientific community is trying to prove that the phenomenon is not real, and doing the kinds of studies that are capable of proving that it's not real, and despite that, the phenomenon repeatedly survives those attempts, we don't know if it's real or not. Mm-hmm. We don't know. And when you talk about things like homeopathy and acupuncture and energy medicine and lots of things in medicine, they never are able to cross over that line where they have a significant effect that replicates reliably. That's how we know if something's true or not, and they never can cross that line.
Someone in the chat said, but if it helps, then it's useful.
No.
However, not true.
Not true. It is not true, and that is the biggest lie that is being sold in the placebo medicine market. Is like, well, who cares as long as it quote unquote helps. But then talk about categorization problems. How do you define helps? Right? Do you define it as, well, people subjectively tell you that it's helping? That's witchcraft, basically. That's not real medicine, because you can get people to say that things that are killing them are helping them, right? Like that can't be the threshold, because that opens the door for literally everything, even things that are directly harmful. And you also assume that unless it's directly harming them, it's not causing any harm. But there's lots of harm to that. There's financial harm. There's diversion of resources from other things that are more likely to be effective. There is, convincing people that magic is real, which has a lot of downstream negative effects. It basically prevents us from making actual real progress in medicine.
Yep.
Because we're spinning our wheels, chasing our tails, chasing all these fake treatments because we're using there's a placebo effect, so it's good enough. We would never make any progress in medicine if we didn't have a threshold where we can tell what actually works from what doesn't work.
And you know who it helps? The only person it helps
Is the person making the money?
Is the guy making the money.
Right.
Keith says, I knew 3 people personally died by going to a naturopath
Yeah.
in my little community. Yeah, that's true.
They're dangerous.
It is
Fake
dangerous.
medicine is dangerous.
And they will lie to you like a politician. They will
Yeah.
tell you whatever they
Yep.
need to keep you coming back over and over again. Take these drops. Let me crack your back. Rub this cream on yourself. It's whatever. It's all bullshit. It is.
But I mean, it's also a continuum. Like, this exists throughout science.
Yep.
And this is something that's one of the most challenging things for us to convey as skeptics. So we're like, you should trust the scientific consensus and experts and blah, blah, blah. But we also have to recognize that science is hard and not everybody does it right. And sometimes they get it wrong. So you have to know, like, well, how strong is the consensus? How strong is the evidence? Has it been replicated? Like, have they crossed over this threshold? Or is this just the best answer we have for now, but no one really knows? Not all consensus is created equal.
I was just teaching my kid, my 11-year-old, he's in 6th grade,
Mm-hmm.
and they're this whole month they've been learning about the scientific method.
Yeah.
They have to, have all the words like, what is a hypothesis? What is a conclusion? Very interesting, right? Digging into the details of this. And it's cool because I don't know how much I've ever really dug into the details, because there's lots of nomenclature.
Yeah.
There's lots of different things. And the idea is they want the kids to really be able to understand, why does it work? And I had to explain it to my son. And the scientific method is magical.
Mm-hmm.
It's awesome because
powerful.
It's powerful.
But you got to do it right.
Yeah, but of course, but you have to do it just right.
But it's hard.
And I've been telling him about how one lab could do this test. We came up with our own hypothesis about gravity. We got to the test, like if a feather would fall at the same rate as a Lego brick or a coin.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So we go through it, and I was telling him there's other labs, like in the world of science, you'll have different laboratories around the world, do the same exact experiment. They would take the procedures that the first lab that created it, and they would duplicate it exactly, and they try to come up with the same conclusions. And what happens is, if they come up with the same conclusions, it adds more weight to there being a real effect there or something legitimate going on there.
Yeah.
I said, but what happens a lot is another lab does it, and they don't get the same results. And I could see my son's brain was like, he got it.
The adult world doesn't make sense. I know. Yeah.
He was getting it. It was really cool.
Yeah.
Somebody asked, Jay Steve, are we nearing the end of the world? Every day
we're fine.
seems much worse than the day before. Well, this is what
Just different shit to deal with.
Yeah,
but
there's always going to be something. And sometimes that something could be a lot worse than something else. It's scary. And believe me, I have felt the need specifically to go back to my therapist that I've had for the last 20 years, just to talk to him about my fear of the election and all this stuff coming up. Yeah, it's hard. It sucks. But we're going to get through it.
We'll get through it.
We're going to get through it no matter what happens. We're going to, in the long run, humanity is, global warming is scary and everything. But in general,
got to keep pushing forward.
We have to keep pushing forward. We have to be on the right side. We have to be fighting for progress. We have to be fighting for equality. And we have to find value in doing those things, even when we are experiencing the 2 steps forward, and then now we're in the 1 step back. We might be in the 1 step back phase right now.
And historically, that's almost universal, especially when you really try to change things. You always move 2 steps back in a positive direction, and then the countervailing forces drag you back, but then usually it pushes through even more. Mm-hmm. That's basically how history works. Doesn't mean that there can't be significant turnaround. I mean, you
There
know,
could be,
countries
yeah.
can fall from democracy into totalitarianism. Bad
You know,
things can happen.
People can pretend that robots are actually robots, but they're actually controlled by people.
Yeah.
You know, it's crazy. It's great. Yeah, but you know, in the end, what are you going to do? And that's the other thing. What are you really going to do? Like, you know, we're doing what we can. We try to educate people. We're here to help people, to teach them how to think, how to understand the concepts of critical thinking, because it does help you, you know, be able to perceive the world in a more accurate way. That's what we're doing.
And we know we will never win.
No, it's never going to win.
It's just it's an endless fight.
We just
want to push in the good direction.
But we do want to say, buy the SGU buckets
Yeah.
while you can,
survival
before the
buckets,
end of the
yes.
world, while your credit card
in
still
one
works.
in one of these cases, you will get some undescript oat thing in the upper left-hand corner, something that has apples on top of it,
Mac and cheese.
rice.
Right.
You'll get mac and cheese.
Maybe a coin.
You'll get hummus
piece
with,
of paper,
with
we
some
don't know.
stuff on it, and
Uh,
you'll
something-
probably iced tea, and you'll
Iced
get
tea?
soups.
Yeah.
You'll get a couple of
Yeah.
soups.
So think of how long you could live with
What was
that.
that squash soup?
That's
Butternut
these
squash
2
soup?
days of, and it's
Butternut
only
box.
$600.
Yeah.
I mean, why wouldn't you buy 5 of these?
You're not going to need the money in the
For your
future.
friends and family.
Might as well give it to us
Exactly, pumpkin soup. These are seasonal. You buy it now, you'll get the pumpkin soup. You buy it next month, you'll get like the turkey and
And
gravy.
this is how we become Alex
now.
Jones.
Right.
Yes.
Whoops.
Whoa.
All right, we're back.
You know, you know how
Don't worry
much
about it.
money we could make. Let me just think about
No,
this.
don't even go down that
We
road.
could
Why go
make-
down that road? Why even think about
Because
it?
I want people to realize that
If only we used our power for evil, power instead of good.
with the little money that we actually do make, that allows me to work full time for the SGU. The point
Make a
is,
meatball bucket. I
The
would buy
point
that.
is, I kind of think of it in this kind of way. One, first of all, I get an immense amount of satisfaction being a good person, being
Yeah.
a good guy, doing the right thing, making the right choices, being as absolutely honest as I can. All of that is good for your soul, for most people's souls, because there's some people that actually get their soul fed by being bad, right? And don't kid yourself, they're freaking out there. But the point is, I feel like with this effort that I've done, that I am making the world a better place than it would have been for my kids. And that's a huge motivator for me. And it also doesn't
But
suck.
Jay, what if you're a childless cat lady? They want the future to be good too.
They do, but this is a motivator for me as an individual, and other people
Yeah.
have different motivations. And also, you know, we get emails from people and lots of communication from people where they say that we've helped them, that we've helped direct
Yeah.
them to find their happier career and everything.
And then we're good for another week.
Yeah. and more importantly, somebody said, sign me up for a meatball bucket. And you got it. And we're having a discount this week on meatball buckets.
And there'll be a vegetarian one too, so don't send emails, please.
We actually talked about a skeptical cookbook.
That might be a thing.
That could be a thing. We could self-publish.
We might
it.
start doing maybe a cooking live stream or two, and then we could start doing a.
We all have recipes that we have. I've
Yeah.
actually invented several recipes.
He has.
Uh-huh.
Steve
A
has,
salad
and,
thing.
and he's proud of
He
it.
does the
And I'm
salad.
His salad is kick-ass. It
But
really is.
beyond that, I mean, other actual things you cook.
Yeah.
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 Cooked salad.
I made
Hot
last
salad.
night. I made a vegetable soup for my kids.
Yeah, proud of you.
And it's amazing that you could basically saute a bunch of vegetables. You know, start with onion. You get in there. I don't want to go through the whole thing, but
Yeah.
you can make it a wonderful vegetable. You got to immersion blend it, and then I put some pastine in there for the kids. You know, and
Some gabagool?
It's some gabagool. Some pastine. So the bottom line is,
Pastine.
it's remarkable after sautéing vegetables and
Yeah.
then blending them that you can make it taste good enough for kids to actually want to eat it.
Yeah.
And I become, I like this inventive kind of cooking and coming up with solutions for kids that don't want to eat.
Right.
Basically things that their body needs. My kids would live on candy.
Yeah, of course they would.
Seriously. You ever hear of JoJo's?
Yeah.
Basically, it's like a Oreo cookie that has like some type of crap on either side of it.
What?
They're great. It could be peanut butter based, it could be pumpkin based, whatever. They're delicious. They're freaking awesome. Yeah. My wife took the kids after school yesterday to one of those markets. I can't remember.
Yeah.
Thank you. Whatever. And they buy these things. They come back. My kids ate like 10 of them each. These things are big, right? And I'm like, then I had to sit them down and be like, guys, listen. Your body is growing. In particular, you need nutrients. You need vitamins, minerals, and protein. If you don't eat that stuff,
How effective was that?
it didn't work. I know
didn't
it
work.
doesn't. It doesn't
It
change.
doesn't work.
But you got to hope that sticky.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of it sticking.
Yeah.
Like my son.
But then you got to lay down the rule. At that age, you just got to say, and you're done.
But how about this? Dylan, my son, he craves protein. He
Yes.
actually says, "Dad, make me something with meat."
Yeah.
And I said to him, and this worked. I
Chicken
said,
fingers and a hair fryer.
no, you know what happened? A friend of ours came over. They had all this steak in their freezer, and they couldn't. They're like, "We're not eating it." And they gave us some steaks, and we had some tenderloin,
Yeah.
and it's freaking awesome. You know, I mean,
I hope
let's
so.
face it. Okay, so I cooked it up for my son, and and I know how I can cook it really well. I love it. Anyway, he freaked out. He's like, "This is the best!" Like, couldn't believe how good it tasted.
Yeah.
And he does come to me and he craves meat. So I told him, Dylan, when your body is craving meat, guess what? That's your body telling you, I need protein. I need protein because we're growing over here.
Yeah, growing boy.
And I
over
think he
here.
understood because I'm like, I said, Dylan, you're having
It's
a
muscle.
craving.
It's muscle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you need protein for lots
Right.
of other shit.
I know. I'm
too.
just saying it's a good way to conceptualize
Yeah.
it for a kid.
Yes.
We want to have muscles.
Want
Muscle
to pump
you
you up.
Yeah.
I'm
Shall
still
we-
laughing at that.
Shall we transition
Holy
to Tiki
shit.
Talks?
Yes,
Yes.
we can get to some tickety talks.
All right, you're going to do that, and I'm going to hang out because you want to do the Who
Yes.
Ham thing. Okay.
Yeah.
all
Here
right.
to ham. Somebody posted something that I'm trying to. The cook-off at Nauticon was great. I know that was the thing that we were.
We're
I got
probab-
screwed. I was
thinking about.
screwed.
It was
We're
screwed
probably
over.
going to do it again. It depends on.
I don't know.
We'll see.
Let,
We'll see.
how,
We'll see.
it was one of
we'll
my
see.
favorite.
It was fun. It was good.
It was fun.
It was good. There's
Um,
heat flame in a thing. Yes, it was.
Whatever. Did anything happen? No.
Not that time.
Did I manage it correctly? Yes.
Yeah.
Why? Because I'm a producer, professional producer over here.
oh Lord.
Asshole.
Perhaps
All right.
consult Season
I'll see you
Liberally
in a
by
little bit.
Cecil.
All
Yes,
right.
Cecil's a great chef. That would be cool.
I've got some fun TikToks coming up.
Fun TikToks.
Fun
so stay-
meaning infuriating.
Oh, here's one, guys. Your podcast helped me. I was an anti-vaxxer.
Well, there you go.
I'm
I'm
good.
assuming now you're not.
Yeah, he's still. I was one, and I am one
Yeah,
now.
still.
Still am one.
Now I'm also a climate change denier.
Whoops. It's like everything you say is. All right. Let's move on to the tickety talks. Wait for the screen change, everybody. Give him a bucket of raw liver. What?
Yeah. Not a big fan of organ meats, although I did have haggis in Scotland that was quite tasty. I had it because whenever I go someplace, I have to eat whatever the iconic food of that place is. Because why not? You're there. So I was in Scotland. So all right, that's it. I'm having haggis, and I was surprised that it was actually very tasty.
Unless we go to Japan,
But it probably was like
he won't do sushi.
tourist haggis. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
so they're like Americanizing it up.
I don't know. Maybe.
Ketchup all over it.
I mean, I go to Japanese restaurants. I don't like seafood, but
Right, that's
they
the
have
thing.
non-seafood. I can have
Sure.
chicken tempura or
Yeah,
whatever.
absolutely.
Just give me something that has chicken in it. And
The if we ever do go to that Japan to Japan for the eclipse,
Yeah.
which is in 2028,
I want to go to
something
Japan.
like that. Yeah, like Japanese curry. That could be a thing that you
Yeah.
might definitely.
And I
go down
can
on.
eat some seafood, but it's got to be really good.
Good.
And
Yeah, I get it.
there's only certain kinds. Like tuna is okay.
Mm-hmm. But whatever stays away from the fishy taste. in
Yeah,
other words,
the omega-3.
yeah.
I have receptors for that.
So
that-
no urchin, no sea urchin, because that is like yeah. Hello. All right, let me stop recording this. Hold on, stop recording this one. I gotta rename this one. Call this Wednesday.
Yeah, the haggis was good. They had it all. It was chopped up finely enough so you didn't know what you were eating, which is
Yeah.
fun. Yeah.
Did you ever have blood sausage?
Yes.
Yeah, that's like kind of an interesting
And blood pudding.
blood. I mean, that's what I meant. Blood pudding. Yeah,
Yeah,
like the black and
That's
white.
what you meant. Blood pudding.
Not blood sausage.
Yeah. When I was in when I was in London one time,
Uh-huh.
not too long ago, I'm like, all right, well, I keep hearing about bangers and mash,
Yeah.
so I got to have bangers and mash.
Sure.
That's like the thing, you know.
Yeah.
I hated it.
Yeah.
Just the mash was fine, but just the sausages were not good. I'm used to a good Italian sausage, and just
Yeah.
what they have as passing for a sausage just didn't cut it for me.
Yeah. Like that.
Sorry,
That flavor.
it's all
kind of-
cultural. It's fine. It's
Yeah.
just wasn't up to what I was used to.
It wasn't the worst. Huh. But that would be Germany. Never. Sorry. That's elsewhere. All right. So let us do this first one. And this one is, Kent Hovind.
Kent Hove. I'm going to start with him.
This freaking guy.
This
over
fucking
here.
guy.
Fucking guy. Okay. Okay. Let me unmute this. hit the record on these here. Okay.
What made the dinosaurs go extinct? Do you realize they're asking the wrong question? The question is not what made them go extinct. The question is, did they go extinct? Now, they didn't call them dinosaur, though. They called them dragon. See, the word dinosaur wasn't made up till 1841. So for most of human history, these creatures are called dragons. Did you know dinosaur is not even in the dictionary in 1891? For most of human history, they were known as dragons. Now, dragons are mentioned in the Bible 34 times. People say, why aren't dinosaurs in the Bible? Last night, I'm talking to this lady at the counter at the hotel. She said, well, dinosaurs aren't in the Bible. I said, that's correct. That word wasn't made up till 1841. And if you got the right Bible, that was translated 1611. So, of course, you're not going to find that word in there. Duh.
Yeah,
That
it's more than
should be
enough.
plenty.
Yeah.
I'll just get to the Bible part. All right, we're rolling.
So that was Kent Hovind there, spouting his usual flavor of creationist nonsense. But let's talk about this. Are dragons, cultural references to dragons, actually dinosaurs? No. So there's a lot of reasons why we could say this is utter nonsense. One is that, well, we know about dinosaurs because we've dug up quite a few dinosaur fossils. And we can also date those fossils. And the last dinosaur fossil died out 66 million years ago. You know, the whole asteroid hitting the Earth and causing mayhem, 75% of species going extinct at the KT boundary. So there haven't been any dinosaurs on Earth other than birds, because birds are cladistically speaking dinosaurs, but the non-avian dinosaurs went extinct 65 million years ago. That's a pretty big gap. It would be pretty difficult to argue to think that, well, dinosaurs survived until 500, 600, 1,000 years ago, and then only then died out. So why were there so many dinosaur fossils in the fossil record? Then there's nothing for 65 million years, but they were still actually literally around. Of course, Hovind is a young Earth creationist, so he doesn't believe all that stuff anyway. So it's kind of hard to make sense of anything that he's saying. But certainly there is nothing in recorded history that is evidence of actual dinosaurs. There are no bones that aren't fossilized, for example. There's absolutely no evidence to support that contention. And it's also culturally very ignorant as well. At one point in the video, he says, look at this long-necked dinosaur on these ancient pottery. It's like, well, we actually know what those were. He's just making this up because it superficially, looks like a long-necked dinosaur. But that's actually a chimera with the body of a lion or a leopard and the head of a snake, because the Egyptians had lots of, as part of their culture, their mythology, they imagined a lot of creatures with either like the body of a man and the head of a crocodile or the head of an ibis or whatever. These things existed. So this was, a leopard snake. And if you look closely, and which of course Egyptologists have, if you examine the evidence closely, you could see that this is the body of a lion or of a large cat. It is not a brontosaurus, or an allosaurus. This is not a dinosaur. It's not a dinosaur. So his claims are completely without evidence, both from a scientific point of view, a paleontological point of view, and from a cultural history point of view. He's just making stuff up in order to fit his preconceived belief system. And he doesn't even make internal sense whatsoever. So no, dragons are not dinosaurs. They're not referring to dinosaurs. They are different cultures had different ideas about, giant monsters. Not a big leap there. And there's absolutely no reason to take anything that this guy is saying seriously.
Okay, there we go. Let's do this. This is dinosaurs and souls. Bing. Dinosaurs. Dinosaurs. Space. Okay. Wrong times wrong equals correct. Almost. All right. Let's.
When it's convenient.
Yeah.
All right, who are we trashing next?
What are we getting on here? So we have.
Oh, this one's fun.
Oh yeah. Here we go.
Ian, by the way, so I could send them to you, but there's other videos that it'd be fun to include a clip in. You don't have to show it now.
Okay,
in
yeah.
the post-production.
Yeah, if you can.
Where they're actually like filling the glass with water. Like you could see them doing stuff with it.
Right.
Which makes it blatantly obvious that they're in 0G. But anyway, I'll talk about it.
Yeah, okay, cool.
All right.
All right, let me hit record. Okay, here we go.
Hi. Good afternoon, all the students on Earth. I'm Zhai Zhigang. I'm the commander. Good afternoon. My name is Ye Guangfu.
Absolutely correct. The standard cup will not work in a weightless environment. You know, the cup that we're all used to drinking. Wait, cup right here. This, yeah, a standard cup like this does not work in a weightless environment. It requires gravity to hold the food in the bottom of the cup.
Uh-oh.
What's the name of their space station? Tiangong, I think?
Yeah.
Just want to make sure I get it correct.
Let me see. Nope, stop. Let me go back to that. I don't know if he put that in there.
I had it.
He says NASA lies.
I know.
It's like,
believe me, I'm going to mention that.
hello.
Tiangong.
Tiangong. There you go.
Tiangong space station. And they're taikonauts.
Taikonauts. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I like that.
That's a cool name. All right, we're rolling.
The first thing I noticed that was funny about this video is that it's called NASA Lies, but that's not NASA. That's the Chinese Space Agency. That is the Tiangong Chinese Space Station, and those are taikonauts. Says nothing to do with NASA. But I guess if you're going to be a crazy conspiracy theorist, then you're going to think that, I guess, we're working with the Chinese to create this, for whatever reason, conspiracy to, fool people into thinking that we have space stations when we don't. Anyway, this video also completely gets the science wrong, and there's some interesting and fun science here. So it's a fail on multiple levels, on a basic logic level in terms of the conspiracy theory. It's also a fail on the science level. So why would water be staying in a cup like that if there's no gravity? Why isn't it floating away? Water behaves in a very interesting way in 0G, in microgravity, and there are lots of videos online on the ISS, on the Chinese space station, showing you how water behaves. So water tends to be clingy. It has surface tension, and it tends to cling to itself, and it clings to certain surfaces like water, right? I mean, like glass. There's a great video of an American astronaut basically wringing out a cloth of water on the space station, and the water doesn't float away. It globs around his hands, because that's how water behaves in microgravity. There's actually a video of these astronauts on that space station with that glass of water, and they're filling it. It shows you them filling that glass of water. They have the water in the collapsible plastic container, which is how you have to keep it, right? And they're squeezing it out into the bottom of the glass, and it's clinging to, again, it clings to itself, it clings to the glass. It's not going to go with the physics there. They also show them, you put like a pencil into the water and you pull it out and the water's clinging to it, because again, that's what water does. And they show that you could submerge a ping pong ball in the water. Now, of course, in gravity, the ping pong ball will float. It'll be buoyant because it's full of air. But in microgravity, there's no buoyancy because there's no differential, result from gravity. And so the ping pong ball will just stay submerged. Again, exactly what you would expect if you were in a microgravity environment. So, yeah, this is not a mystery. This is not a mistake. The physics here are cool. They're very interesting. And it perfectly explains what we're seeing there. So the third fail, in this video is not doing 5 minutes of basic internet research. You could find the answer to the question here. They're doing what we call anomaly hunting. You look for things that look strange and you go, oops, we caught NASA, or in this case the Chinese, with another fake zero-G video, when in fact the answer is right there. If you had any curiosity, any scientific interest genuinely, and you looked for the answer rather and questioned yourself rather than just assuming that your oops is a big gotcha, you will find the answer. There's video of those astronauts with that glass of water showing you it has to be in microgravity. There's many other videos, again, on board these space stations where clearly there is no gravity there. In that own video, the woman's hair is floating up freely. That's really hard to fake in a studio. That is, everything you're seeing in there is consistent with microgravity, including that glass of water. So this is just nonsensical. Like all of the NASA is lying videos, it's all anomaly hunting gotchas by people who aren't genuinely investigating what's going on and genuinely do not understand the science involved. But if you're not one of those people and you want to actually believe what's probably true rather than just some silly conspiracy theory, this information is out there. And this is a very interesting phenomenon. It's fascinating, and you can learn all about it by watching a lot of these fascinating videos that are being made aboard space stations, which are floating above our heads in microgravity. It's pretty cool.
Okay. Sorry, chat. I think we dropped frames for a second, so maybe your audio got a little glitchy.
Okay.
But it's not, the recording is not glitchy.
Yep. Okay.
So yeah, just refresh and it'll work. Okay. So we got water, glass, space. All right, so now next one up is this one, conventional medicine versus holistic medicine. Let's see what this one's about. Okay, give me a second while I pull that up. Start recording. Okay, here we go.
It's like a really bad smell coming from my kitchen. Let me take a look. Okay, looks like your trash is getting pretty full. I'm gonna write you a script for some air freshener so you can spray that around your trash. Oh, perfect. Thank you so much. That sounds great. Hey, how's your kitchen been? Well, those air fresheners helped in the beginning, but now it seems like it's getting a lot worse. Huh. Okay, I'm gonna recommend a stronger air freshener this time. Sounds good to me. How's the kitchen doing? Really, really not good. I mean, the air freshener helps a little bit, but now it's starting to overflow, and I can barely walk into my kitchen. Okay. Here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna give you a stronger air freshener, a second trash bin. That way we can put the trash that's overflowing in that other trash bin. Okay. Why don't we just take the trash out?
Okay, so there's that. Hold on. All right, we're rolling.
Of course, I don't know why that she didn't just take the trash out to begin with. But anyway, this is a great example of what we call the straw man logical fallacy, right? You have this kind of ridiculous cardboard, whatever, choose your material, fictional sort of representation of what you're trying to argue against, rather than dealing with the reality of the way things actually are, right? So the idea here is that, and this has been a claim of holistic medicine proponents forever, that conventional physicians just treat symptoms rather than addressing the true underlying cause. And this is trying to make a humorous analogy. It's like, yeah, if you had garbage piling up in your kitchen, they would recommend an air freshener, which of course is silly. Even if you're saying that, well, the garbage is metaphorical. So the idea there is that physicians, mainstream medicine doesn't include trying to deal with the actual cause of your symptoms. Of course it does. In fact, the scientific approach is the only approach that tries to understand at a scientific reductionist level what's actually causing problems. In fact, scientific medicine is the only approach that has ever done that. Right, that has ever actually figured out and understood what's actually happening, and then try to fashion treatments which address the actual cause of your symptoms. You know, like if you have a bacterial infection, you prescribe an antibiotic in order to kill the pathological bacteria. Or if you have diabetes, what is the first thing that any physician who knows what they're doing would do? We would go over your lifestyle factors, make sure that you are exercising, go over your diet with you, talk about weight control, etc. They also know, however, that there's a genetic component, so they would talk about your family history, right? That's, hygiene, lifestyle, basic things like that are always the first level that we do. That's just basic good medicine. But the holistic proponents have to create this fiction, right, based upon just their own imaginings that physicians only treat symptoms and not causes. It's not true, complete straw man. So that, and they say, well, we're addressing the real causes, right? But they're not. They're generally affecting fake causes that they made up, right? They're not the real things, because scientists are finding out and addressing the real causes of disease. So they make up fake causes so that they can then sell you a fake treatment to treat the fake causes that they made up. But it all is meant to sound nice because basically they're engaged in clever marketing, not in actual healthcare. Because if you're engaged in good faith healthcare, you want to know what's really going on. You want to be critical and skeptical of your own claims and your own beliefs, not take things for granted. And you want to do due diligence and get objective information, not present yourself as a guru who has somehow magically has all the answers, even though you've never been able to prove that your answers are correct by, publishing them in peer-reviewed journals, for example. So if they actually had answers, they would be able to prove it, and everybody would know the answers, and they would be common practice. But you don't have the answers, then you lie about the other side, right? You make up these, straw man, ridiculous fallacies about them, and then pretend like you somehow magically have the answers. Unfortunately, as a marketing strategy, this can be very effective because you're telling people basically what they want to hear. You're also, selling them on simplistic solutions to complicated problems. Rather than having to tell the people the truth, like, well, this is complicated. There's a lot of causes. These are the things we can address. These are the things we can't, et cetera, et cetera. It is complicated because biology is complicated. People are complicated. There are often no simple solutions. The ones that exist, everyone's doing them because if they're simple and they're true and they're basic hygiene, like taking out the trash, of course we're going to take out the trash, whatever the metaphor you think that is a metaphor for. That's just basic good common sense, let alone good clinical medicine. So don't believe nonsense like this. This is a marketing strategy generally trying to get you to buy nonsense. Don't so easily believe, again, ridiculous straw man about other people. The notion that, all of these thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of people who have dedicated their life to studying biology and studying medicine and being good at practicing clinical medicine, they're all wrong. They're somehow all magically wrong. And things that are blatantly obvious to the person watching this video, she's like, oh, my mind is blown how obvious this is. Yes, it's so obvious that thousands of experts somehow missed it. It makes no sense. You then have to retreat to the conspiracy theory. It's like, well, they're not dumb. They're all in on it for the money. It's like, have you ever actually spoken to a doctor or a healthcare professional in every country? Because that's what you're talking about. Not just one bad apple or one subculture. You're saying that pretty much all practitioners everywhere in every country, even ones that don't make money off the practice of medicine, they're all in on it, right? Even if you practice in the UK where you're salaried, or you're an academic who's salaried and is not making money off the direct practice of medicine, like me, for example, totally salaried. I don't get reimbursed specifically for what I do. That we're somehow all in on this big con or big conspiracy theory, or we're just so dumb we don't know like basic hygiene. If it sounds really simple and stupid, it's probably not true.
Okay, very good.
All
right. I think that's it. Naturopathic, I guess. I'm trying to think of what to name it.
Naturopaths are just famous for that. Naturopaths basically believe whatever's not true. That's like their one unifying theory. It's like, It's out of the mainstream. If it doesn't work, then they're all in on it.
Yeah, exactly.
Because if stuff that works, other people can do, so that's not their brand, right? They have to brand themselves with something that not anyone else is doing.
They have to have an expertise and
Yeah.
non-expertise. All right, I think that is it. And unless there's any questions before we skedaddle, we might have a special Friday live stream, which we will keep on the. I'm just going to say Jay and I were on the phone with somebody about that. So we'll see what that is. Anything else, chat, if you want? Love the SGU fam. Thank you so much. Make sure you share, like. Go to Nauticon.com. Nauticoncon.com?
Nauticoncon.com.
Where is it? Nauticoncon.com. There are tickets still available. I think there's like only a few more for the board game night.
And buy our books.
Buy the book. There's more books out there.
Holidays are coming. These make excellent gifts.
Stocking stuffers if you
Yep.
have a big stock, I guess. Whatever. Question: Friday live stream? Yes or no? That's what I was talking about.
Yeah.
Friday live stream.
Right.
Good show. Have a good one. Thank you everybody for being here.
No stream next week.
No stream. No Wednesday stream next week.
Or Friday.
Or Friday,
for that matter.
We're
at SciCon.
That's right, SciCon. So go to SciCon if you want to see some interesting talk. That will
yes, people are still
happen.
able to apply for the correspondent position.
Oh, yeah,
This is an
definitely.
open enrollment, as we say. Just
Open.
keep sending them in. Yeah, there's no cutoff date.
That's right. And we'll let you know of what
Yeah,
will
we're
happen with
reviewing them.
We're
Nothing's
reviewing.
going to happen right away.
Yeah.
We want to get a bunch of them and review them, and
Exactly.
maybe the beginning of the year or something. And now we're like in conference season. The end
Yeah.
of the year, we're like just going to survive between now and the end of
Exactly.
the year.
All right, everybody.
Bye,
I'll see y'all
bye.
later. Hit that end
Thanks,
music
Ian.
and the end screen. Bye bye.